Hello. Today I am joined by Jay. He's a senior software engineer, author, wrote for CSS Tricks and Smashing Magazine. He's also a AHEG instructor. Jay did a CS degree and a master's science in financial system engineering, which seems very complicated. And Jay, you do awesome animations using pure CSS and also GreenSock. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. You've done your research.
Yeah.
Not many people know about my CS and MSc background. Yeah, I'm
What?
great. I'm great. It's Monday, so it's a pretty chill day for me. The
That's
weekends are
good.
pretty hectic with sport. So yeah,
Yeah.
Monday is like get back into the swing and then kickstart the week and everyone has all their plans. How about you? How are you doing? I've seen you being really busy with your Hacktoberfest and you've been doing the, I always forget the name of it. It's Droid something.
Yeah, Obstroid. Yeah.
That's it, Obstroid. It's the other way around. I see murmurings about that, and I often tune in when you're doing stuff, but I'm not 100% sure what's going on. So
Yeah, that's yeah. I
it's
did.
interesting to see.
I did the four needed PRs for the shirt. Then I've been a bit quiet. But now I'm on holiday, so I'm trying to get back into it again. I need. My goal is to do at least 15 PRs for the month of October. So
Oh,
we'll
wow.
see how that is
What's
going to go.
your next feature or plan for it?
Well, I'm trying to migrate the old Twitter connector to Opsdroid. I'm trying to use the webhooks, but I haven't understood, or yeah, I just haven't figured out how to get the subscribe to the webhook, which
Sorry, I've
is
just gone
that's
dark.
right.
Sorry. The battery's
It's all
just
good.
died on one of the lights.
Um, yeah, because they expect you to send a specific string on the header,
Hmm.
and I keep getting like bad authentication data for some reason. And then some places they say that you need to get a bearer token. So I haven't figured out that yet, but I want to work on that.
No, this stuff's really interesting. Like, it's really interesting to see what everyone's working on. Obviously, people have different specialties or different areas of interest, and it's pretty inspiring to see what people get up to. Yeah, and that's one thing. Like, even if you don't understand it, it might spark an idea or something for something else, which is yeah, it's nice to see. So,
Yeah, definitely.
Twitch is a
I
great
want.
community for seeing that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I also want to do some more of React stuff because I feel like I've been doing Python for since the beginning of October, and I'm like I need to at least get one project that's like a React project or something like that, just to get that in as well.
Well, I've been yeah, like my so I've been up in my streaming. My last week has been I had a project I wanted to make for probably a couple of years, and I finally sat down to make it last week. So I've been doing 2 hours a day on the stream, and I've been making like an Electron app um,
Hmm,
with React and Parcel Bundler.
okay.
And what it does is it takes and this is why I wanted to see if I get my overhead cam working with Zoom, but and kind of show a rough note. It does. So what you do is you open the app and it gives you a grid. You can kind of see what's going on there. Very
Yeah.
rough. If you're on my stream, you see this on the overhead, but you get a grid, you draw on the grid, then you fill in your GitHub username, your repository that you're going to push it to, and
Hmm.
then the branch. And what it does is it takes an image that you've drawn on this grid and pushes it to your GitHub contributions graph. So you're able to draw images on your profile because who really looks at the contributions graph seriously anyway, right? So
That's true, and I love that because I remember when you're working on the pixel art generator thing. Do you know
yeah,
what I mean? The one
yeah,
that you can
Pixel.
draw.
Yeah,
Pixel, exactly. I didn't remember the name of it, and
yeah.
that was such a cool project that you've built. So yeah.
Well, that's the thing. I don't. I often do. So I often do like demos, don't I? Like a one-off demo. And I was like,
Mhm.
for Hacktoberfest, I'm going to actually create a project doing something I haven't done. So I haven't. I've done Electron, but I haven't really done a lot of Electron. And I thought I'll just write something from scratch, and it's been really good because normally my streams are like make a demo, make something whimsical, push it out the door, and everyone can see it. Whereas this, I've started from scratch and kind of learned something along the way every day,
Mhm.
whether it's like design or like just different packages even. So I keep notes every day. I haven't written anything up yet, but just like the just the hurdles you hit with doing this kind of thing. So the way the project works, and I kind of had an idea for how it would work, is that you're drawing what you want, but those little boxes equate to an amount of commits. And then what happens is I use Node in the background to generate a shell script that basically creates empty commits for every commit to color the graph. So I did like a stress test of it where I just completely dark greened out my whole contributions graph. And I think it made something like 75K commits. And it took about 10 minutes to run the shell script. And it took about another 10 minutes to actually render on GitHub. But once it was there, it was something like, about 70K contributions, but my complete graph was dark green. So it's just been funny. Like, so you can run the shell script yourself, but when you try and run it through Node, you end up with like a buffer limit exception, which I didn't foresee. But if you run it through Node's child process spawn, like spawn sync, or no, exec sync through child process, you can actually run it all, but the app beach balls. So it's really interesting to come across these problems. Like, I know it's just been a bit different. As you say, normally it's SVG animation or CSS animation or something fun with sounds. I don't know, just something random. So
two questions. First, do you think that you're going to have enough time to dedicate to this project, since you have always a lot of things going on? And are you enjoying the change of work from animations to something like Electron based, and where you're solving all these sort of problems that you wouldn't do with animations?
Yeah, so as you're aware, I have a bit more time at the moment because I'm not working, which is I'm sort of, I don't know, I'm entertaining opportunities again, but I'm sort of on a mini sabbatical. So, but this project's been great because it's kind of given me a bit of a structure in the day, because I've just been kind of like, so to start with, because I'm normally doing X amount of things at once, I found it really hard to switch off and just take a rest, which is the reason why I stopped working, to take a rest and work out what the next step is. And I found that really hard. And I do find that quite hard. Like mentally, it's quite hard for me to switch off without things to do and just accept that it's okay to step away from the keyboard. And I think that's something that a lot of people have problem with. Like but it's fine. I've even written articles. I've wrote articles about it, and I still have to go back and read them myself. So, but this has given me a good structure. So I actually have, I've got the first proof of concept running for this, and it works, and it's all open source. It's up on GitHub, so people can pull it down and play with it or do what they want. But I always look for a way to squeeze some whimsy in. So I have some animations that I'm going to push in and some sounds. But it's been fine. I think I'll be all right. I think once I've got it a bit more polished, I'll probably hit save on it, release it, and then move on to the next thing. But I've been focusing a lot more on I've been doing a bit of writing the last kind of week or so. One about 3D CSS, which was, I've done so many 3D CSS demos lately, I kind of don't want to look at them at the moment, but I've been working on one this morning, so that didn't last long. And then the other thing was about learning and making learning fun, which has been quite interesting to step back and think about it. Because I never really think about it. I just write ideas down and do it. And it's been a case of thinking about the motivation. So I think in a lot of times, people may be motivated by the thought of learning X, and they need to learn X, or they dwell on, I need to do React, or I need to do Electron, and instead of dwelling on the process or the how, flip that around and think of the why first, or the what. What do you want to make? And that's kind of one of the switches for how I've ended up going on my path. Was I stopped thinking about what I was going to use and how I was going to do it, and just what I wanted to make. And that's how come all the demos are so random. So instead of thinking, I want to learn React, what can I make with that? I can make a dashboard. Instead, I'm thinking, right, I want to make a checkbox where a bear turns it on and off. and he gets angrier, now I'll think about what I'm going to use to make it. So you flip that process round, and it kind of makes it, you kind of motivated by the fun of creating something that's unique, not I'm going to learn something. The learning part's the bonus, and obviously it's a major part to it, but you kind of driven by the idea of like, I'm going to create something that you won't have seen before. And it's the challenge of doing that. And every time you create something that's like that, there's a new challenge. Even if you use the same technologies, you normally end up learning other parts of the API because you've not needed to do something in a certain way before. So yeah, I kind of flip it on that way, and I write down pretty much everything. Any idea that I get, no matter how silly, just gets written down. So I could keep going on. I've written a whole article about this last week. So
which I think your process is going, it's very interesting. So the whole fact of writing your ideas, and you actually have a notebook with your ideas, it's very interesting, because if you don't know what you can work on, if you don't know what you feel like doing, you can just go through your notebook and say, oh, this idea seems cool that I had, I don't know, maybe a year ago. And you say, okay, I'm going to work on this. Whilst a lot of us sometimes, a lot of us, we have lots of ideas, but we might not put them into paper. And sometimes not even on a note online or anything. And then all these ideas are just gone because you lose that motivation to work on them. Whilst if you have a place where you store your ideas, then you can always come back after a week, a month.
Yeah, I'd say as well, like, write them on paper if you can, but digitize them as soon as possible before you lose them. So True. So a lot of people have kind of seen my notebook because I made a demo of my notebook. And I will sketch out as I go in this to kind of like fresh out the ideas or work out how I'm going to do something. But then I write everything in like a note-taking app like Notion or Trello or something like that, just to have them somewhere. But yeah, and I don't write anything particularly in depth unless there's something that particularly triggers an idea. So I mean, it's good timing this, because I've just finished a draft for an article about this. So if I go into my Notion, and I'll just pick off some random ones and just, so I have like blog ideas and all that kind of stuff. So one I have at the moment is a Twitch Tamagotchi powered by Chat and Hazura. That's one I want to make.
That would be cool.
What else do we have? The Peter Griffin blinds in CSS. I can do that. There's so many random ones in here. A 3D flipping laptop that opens and flips, then makes a sound like the MacBook. There's just, the list is endless. Like, there's just so many random ones in here. I have like a big I have a big table that I keep with just like CodePen ideas. And then I have like a front, I'm terrible at organizing it. Then I have like a front page where they just go in to start with, and then I sort them out afterwards. So just really random ones. There's what else do we have? Lego Builder. And I'll do like, it's where your inspiration comes from as well. So I have one here that just says create the Deliveroo frying pan animation. So I've probably seen the Deliveroo app, and there's a nice little, my girlfriend's pretty good at this. When she sees little animations or things and she thinks, oh, you could make that, she screenshots them and sends them to me.
That's brilliant.
It's just quite cool. So I often have like a link or something to go off of, but normally it's just keywords. So I have like skipping bear, canvas sonar, with sound. That's one. There's just so many, and like, I'll never have time to create them all, but I'm never short of an idea, which is kind of the reason I say to people, like, don't dwell on the amount of them, just keep writing them down, because like, you'll always have something to go to, and it doesn't matter how ridiculous it sounds or how far-fetched it seems. Even if you come across something and you think there's no way I'd know, but it starts you on a journey where you begin to find ways of doing those things, and maybe you have to slightly scale back your idea or take it in a slightly different direction, but it will give you something that you learn and something you created, and takes you on a journey of finding something out. It's a nice way of doing things.
Then, And then, like you said, if you are working or if you want to work on an idea and you have no idea how to get there, it's where that planning comes along. And it's one thing that I struggle all the time is I have an idea and I say, okay, I don't know how to do this, but I will just start VS Code and start hacking away till it gets done. And this is one thing I know I need to work on is the planning phase, which can save you a lot of time, a lot of headaches. And if you plan properly, you know exactly what to search for. And you probably will find some edge cases where you might not have think through, but then because you did your research, you know exactly what you can test and what can fail and all of these things. And
Yeah,
maybe
and
this is one thing with experience, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because the bigger your project, the more plan like you need, or the more kind of idea of what you're going to do you need. So I knew with my current project, so my current project, which is, and I just called it Vincent van Git, that has been in this list for like 2 years. And one I can't think of the word for it, not the advice, but one kind of strategy maybe, or tactic, if you are struggling with a project idea or something, is to take a project that you like, or something that you've seen that you think, I could make that, but I could improve on the bits that I don't like, and just take it and do it. So there's what this project was born from. I use a project called Gitfitty, which is a Python script, and it's a Python script that generates a shell script that you run, and it's all done in the command line, and then it updates your contributions graph with an image. So I don't mind running that, but every sort of 2.5 to 3 months, you have to run it, and you have to remember how to run it. And to draw the images that you want, it's an array of nested arrays with zeros, ones, twos, threes, and fours. So you have to kind of work it out on paper in a grid what those arrays are going to be. So I was like, do you know what? I don't like this anymore. I want a visual way of doing it, tapping a button and hitting gone, and I don't have to think about it, and I'll just run that every 3 months. So that's why the project kind of started, and kind of be driven by that idea of I can take that and improve upon it and make it my own, that kind of thing. So that's another way of going about things. I don't know what made me think of that. It just went off on a tangent. But that was it. I remember we were saying about projects and planning. So yeah, with the smaller things, it's not so bad, because if you just do a demo or something for CodePen, the odds are you haven't invested too heavily into it. So you don't need to plan as majorly. So some of my streams will obviously be like, when I was doing the vote for the idea, which I should really bring back, I would do no planning at all. Everything you see on stream is like from me taking those 5 words, which I've jotted in a list, to writing it on paper, to creating the thing, to pushing it to CodePen. Like there's no planning. So
and for the folks that don't follow you on Twitter, I think it's every Friday. You can correct me on that. Every Friday or every Monday you make a poll, or used to make a poll on Twitter, asking folks what they wanted to see, and whatever had the most votes, you would create that.
I would make. Yeah, I need to bring that back, because I kind of stopped doing it because, and I believe, well, I'm pretty sure I said to you about this. I think I just took on too much for a period of time, and I just felt like exhausted. I was doing that, writing, creating lessons, had a full-time job. I just couldn't do it all. But I'm slowly getting back into the swing of it again now. So like I've been doing the 2-hour streams every day. Like I'll do one today. And it's much more manageable. I'm getting better at managing the time. And I think that's kind of a hard thing to get around, especially if you're not the most organized like me. So
I think working from home makes it harder as well. It's a bit weird, but yeah.
See, I kind of have the advantage, I guess, there. You work on planes, right? So there's no real remoteness there. So.
Not on that one.
But I've always, the majority, I've done a few on-site contracts, but I've worked remote pretty much my whole career. So I'm kind of used to that. And I'm quite good at disciplining myself to work. But the part I'm not good at is disciplining myself to stop, which is not ideal. I have to sort of drag myself away. And I always encourage people, if they do work remote, find hobbies that you do outside of work that have like strict times, because they make you go away and they kind of break your time off. So like for me, I play sport quite a lot during the week. I play Saturday afternoon, I play soccer or football, depending on the audience, and Sunday mornings as well. So I have to be there. Like I have to be there for kickoff. I have to be there for training during the week, and it just gets me away from the keyboard. And then I forget about coding, and then I'm in that other world for a bit, and then I come back and it's like, I'm not even thinking about that, so it's fine. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, remote it's interesting to see how different people have taken remote on in the last what is it now, 4 or 5 months?
Yeah, something like that.
This year's
March,
flying
I think
by.
it was.
It's horrible.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's very hard if you're working fully remote. It's very hard for you to switch off, especially when you are actually enjoying what you do. You think, yeah, I'm a little bit tired, but it's fine. I will keep on going. It's fine. It's fine. And then after a while, you hit a wall and you're like, damn, I need to take a break. And I think that's what happened to you a couple months ago. Was it a month ago?
Yeah,
I've had
it. I've had it that way, and I've had it the flip way. Like, if you try and go cold turkey, that can make it even worse. So I was forced to take some time around Christmas just because I never take holidays. And it was, you've got all this holiday, like you need to take time off. So I took time off, and I just ended up hating it because I was doing nothing. So it's like you have to find that balance. It's really tough. I have like lots of distractions though around the house. So like I have the dip bars, obviously, which I use in the stream often, and then I have like the chin up bar outside. I have stuff like dotted around the house, and I'll just go and like be outside, do some rounds on the bar and stuff like that, and just mess around. And just try and distract myself with other things, really, just so I'm not doing like you say, just sitting in the chair for like hours thinking, oh, I'll just do that now. I'll watch some YouTube and then I'll do this. And you just like, before you know it, the day's gone and they just all roll into one. It's not good.
Yeah. So let me take you way back. How was this passion for development came to be? So you took a CS degree. So I'm sure that's been something that you've done when you were very young, or you found that passion very young.
Well, this is where I find it quite interesting to talk about, and I always muffle the history. So I'm always people always assume that I've probably been playing with computers for a long time, but I really didn't. I didn't even want to do a CS degree. I wanted to be an architect, and I wanted to do architecture. That was my thing. I really like drawing, doing isometric stuff. And then I started doing, I recently started doing isometric animations, like at the start of the year or sometime this year. I did like an SR-71 and a traffic scene and stuff. I should do another one. I should probably write that down. But I really like doing technical drawing and stuff like that. So I did my A-levels and I did math, I think physics and some other stuff. And I did IT. And IT is nothing like CS, or it wasn't at my school. It's like Excel and things like that. And it was basically a case of my math wasn't good enough to do architecture. It was going to be a struggle for me to get in where I wanted to go. So I went off and viewed some universities, and I ended up going to King's in London, doing CS because it was suggested to me that I'd be good at computer science, and I liked the idea of it. But in the first term, I absolutely hated it, and I was ready to throw it all in and not bother anymore, and just do something else completely different. And
was it all the math?
It was just the concepts just didn't hit with me at all.
Okay.
I liked the idea of it, but then like I had my classmates around me that understood it, and it just didn't gel with me at all. Like we're doing things like low-level logic, and you know, when you learn all the starting things like just like state charts and things and all this stuff, and it's brand new to me, and I just didn't gel with me at all. Like I was very like I was driven by getting out on my BMX bike. That was what I used to do, like going out doing tricks. And now I was in London. I just wanted to go and ride street and ride skate parks and stuff. And that was what I loved doing, hanging out with my friends, doing that. And yeah, I mean, I tried to do the CS stuff and it just wasn't clicking. And for some reason, something clicked between the first term and the second term. It must have been a module or something. And I just started thinking, right, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to get on with it. And I just started getting better at it. I stopped going in a lot of the time, and I used to take all of the notes and learn them myself, and then turn up for the things I had to be there for, and then just turn up for the tests. And I just learned it all on my own back. And I just got my sort of routine like that. So I'd wake up kind of late because there's obviously a student who stay up late,
Of
and then
course.
I'd do my notes, huge bowl of crunchy nut, and that's how I did it. And I did my first degree in CS, and found that I really like doing kind of UI stuff. I did like a social networking app in C sharp, I think, for my final year project. It was like hooked up with, I had this huge book on C sharp, and it was all like built in Visual Studio, and you could do like computer to computer like network. Someone could log in on one and you could tag each other and stuff. It was quite cool. The UI looked terrible. Like that was probably my first intro to like styling, choosing colors in the UI. Like, oh, I want this color to be green. That's about as far as my CSS went. Um, and then yeah, I did it at my master's, and there wasn't a lot of coding in that, but the coding there was fun because I was able to just sort of jump in and do that. And I actually didn't do any front end until I was sort of a year or two into my career. I actually started as a middleware engineer, and I did enjoy doing it, but I'd never really do coding outside of my course. Like I'd be the guy that'd be like, right, I want to get my coursework out of the way so I can go to the skate park with my friends. Yeah, I had no real drive to do it outside, and even in work, I had no drive to do it outside of work. I've just written up a history on this for this article I'm writing, so it's all fresh in my mind, which is quite nice. But even when I started work remotely, and my drive was always, right, I'll get work done and then I can play video games with my friends, and I can go take driving lessons, and I can go and play football, get to football training. Can I leave work early because I've got practice? Yep, cool. And code was just it paid the bills. Like I wasn't that bothered by it. And then I got introduced to front end, and it was just the fact that it was so accessible. I could just open a browser, write something in a text file, and see it instantly change there in front of me. And I could just explore it, and there was no running loads of processes. Or I was working with Java a lot, and there was no like big idea. I was using, I want to say like IntelliJ or something like that, and
Mhm.
I want to say like Maven, if that's it's rolling back the years for me now. But
I
I'd be doing
I
things like that, and just as soon as I found front end, it was like, wow, I can just go off exploring, and I can find this and that. And it must have been about the time that CSS animation and CSS 3D transforms were rocking in, and
okay.
that was what I focused on. That was like the first thing I learned before I did like layouts and colors and typography and anything like that. I jumped straight into doing 3D transforms and animation because I was like, this is cool. I'm going to do this. So I kept plodding away and making things, and HTML5 drag and drop was something that was fresh. And I built like a little Trello clone with it, and I styled it up and I threw it on Hacker News because someone had told me like, oh, you put things there and people look at it. Well, it actually went and it hit the top of the page for like a day and a half or so. And there were loads of people just saying like, oh, you should do this, you should do that. This is pretty bad for usability, blah, blah. And I've always kind of advocated humility. So just take it on board. And especially then, like I pretty junior, and I'm just like, this is brilliant. People are just giving me pointers for free, and I'm just getting this advice for free. And I just went off and made new versions, and it kind of kickstarted me to go off and make stuff. And that at that point, that was the flicking switch. That was when I was like, right, well, tonight I'm going to work on this. Tonight I'm going to work on that. And now I'm going to look at this, and I'm going to start making things all the time. And that was what kicked it. And then I don't know, I think CodePen was probably the catalyst for starting to make more fun things. And from there, I'm now here chatting to you. So
That's perfect.
that's a brief history.
So from your history, you could have built the old, new, whatever you want to call it, Facebook.
Yeah, I always get a bit not well. It's not even sour like I invented it, but like I put a rudimentary form of tagging in my network so you could tag people and say things, and then like not long after, like tagging was a thing anyway, and like those big like Facebook was pretty new when I was at university. Like it was, you had to have your university email to get into it. It was at that early stage. So when you see tagging, and I was like, I did tagging on mine. I could have come up with that. But yeah, like it was very basic. It was for like heritage sites and UK attractions. So it wasn't like a generic kind of social thing. It was for people that visited attractions, and you could like tag the attraction. So you'd be like, oh, today I went to Stonehenge, check it out, and like people could view it and like interact with it. It was quite cool for like a third year project.
Yeah,
it's a long time ago though now.
It's you sort of brought me back to my university years as well, because so I took a tourism degree by mistake.
Mistake? That's interesting.
Yeah, so I did a journalism degree in high school, so college in UK, and one of the classes that we had to create a product, and we had to create the whole marketing for that product. And I fell in love with the whole creating the marketing strategy and the thinking and brainstorming all these marketing ideas and stuff. I had really, my friends were really, they are very creative, they get ideas from nowhere, so it was a very interesting process. And I thought, you know what, I want to do marketing. But when I went to register for university, it was too late, so the course was already full. So I decided, all right, I will do tourism, because at least I'm in university, and then after the first semester I'll be able to change back and go to marketing. So I did that, and then they said, no, you actually have to do 1 year. And I was like, oh man, okay. So I did 1 year, and I was like, I'm not going back to year one, so I'm just going to keep on going. But I think in 3 years I attended 2 classes.
Nice.
The rest, yeah, I was always in university with my friends and stuff, but I barely went to any classes. So if you are listening to this and you're thinking to go to university, classes are important, all right?
I think it's one of those, I think it's really interesting, because obviously there's the whole movement of you don't need a CS degree to do this. And I do appreciate that side of things, but at the same time, for me personally, without it, I wouldn't probably be here, because it made me go off and learn different life skills, and I met different people along the way that kind of inspired me to come along on this journey. Like I remember when I lived in halls for my whole undergrad, and I met people that were like in the higher years, and I had a friend he was a bit of a comedian. He was quite funny. He would do things like, so he had lots of cool side projects that he'd work on in halls. And he would do things like, he would trick people in the common room to be like, hey, I wrote this app. Like, basically I use my camera and I take a photo of you. And then we go to my computer and I'll do something. And then and he would just like ruse people. So he would go back, you'd go to his room. He had like a big projector. He had like, his room was amazing. And he would just do some commands in terminal. But because like none of us knew what was going on, we just assumed that what he was doing and what he's saying is true. But he was just playing with you, like jokes on you. And those kind of people, like, you don't notice it at the time, but they definitely had an influence, because the further down you go, like, you're just having fun with it and you're learning at the same time. And it's just, yeah, it's really interesting. And like you say, you didn't go to classes. For me, I tried going to class all the time. It didn't work for me. What works for me is like learning on my own. Like I like to learn in my own way at my own pace, and whether that's quicker or slower than other people. I find it really hard to just listen to someone. And then, not that I can't listen to people when they're like having an actual discussion or something, but if someone's just dictating knowledge to me, I find that I find it hard to learn. I just end up doing it twice because I'll end up listening, and then I'll have to go and do it all again to take my own version. So
Yeah,
it's really interesting that.
I
What
think
did you
I'm the
do after
same.
though? Did you just decide, right, I've done that, I'm going to do
Yeah,
something else? Like,
yeah.
how did you end up where you are now?
So I just kept on going for throughout the whole course. Um, but then again, in Portugal, the university is pretty much free. If you're on the public university, you can pay up to 600 euros for 1 year. If you are in a private university, it goes between like 2,000 to 5,000, depends what you take. Obviously, if you take medicine, it's going to be more expensive. But I said, you know what? Yeah, I did 1 year. I have 2 more years to go. It's fine. I'll just keep on going. Mind you, I'm very, very bad at history because I'm bad at knowing things by heart. And obviously, I had history the whole 3 years. um, then my halfway through my year 2, my dad lost his job. He was getting a really good salary, and he got a injury, and then he lost his job because that's when the crisis hit in Portugal, 2008. And I was like, okay, I'm going to get a job, still study, because I don't want my parents to keep paying for me. So I got a job as selling insurance, but I was like in the middle of the shopping center, just approaching people, start talking to people, and try to sell them insurance, which was really fun. It's not easy, but it was a fun thing to do, and I was getting paid good money. So the course was kind of like, okay, I want to finish it off just because I started it, but it was secondary in my idea because, when you start getting good money, you just don't really care about studies anymore. So I finished the course, and I did, I think, like 6 months in Portugal, and then I was with my ex, and she couldn't find a job. I wanted to live abroad because I want to do Erasmus, which is you do like 6 months or a year in a different country on a different university. And I decided, okay, we can try to go to UK. I'll do maybe 6 months, see how it is, find a job, and then just see how it goes. I got a job as a pot wash in UK. Me and my dad, we drove from Portugal 26 hours. That was interesting. If you have to do more than 10 hours driving, take a day off or a night off and have a break, because doing 26 hours straight is crazy, even if you have two drivers. But then I was living with Ryanair crew, and my housemates, they were like, I see you're working in the restaurant, you should apply to work for an airline. And I was like, yeah, that could be cool, but I'm not sure, blah blah blah. By then I was learning how to cook because I didn't even know how to cook, so the chef in the restaurant taught me how to cook. I did a bit of kitchen for 6 months as well, and then I became a waiter, so I was like all hands on deck, really do everything. And then one of my housemates, he applied for the same airline as I'm working for, and I said, all right, I'll go apply with you, and I got the job. So this whole idea of staying here for 6 months became 7 years so far. And I don't really plan on going back to Portugal, to be honest. I really enjoy UK. And obviously, I'm married now. My wife, she's a teacher, so I got my life in UK. Looking back, I think it was probably one of the best decisions that I've made, which was meant to be just for 6 months, and then, yeah.
It's so funny how those things work out, right? So like your journey's taken you on this path which you probably never foresee, and like similar to me, like I thought I was going to do something different, and something always happens, right? Something always clicks at the right time, or something just like, it's really strange. So I was just thinking this a second ago because I was thinking of you said about fees, and I was thinking, well, UK fees are like quite large.
Yeah.
Like you have the fee for each term, then the fee for like your living. I can't remember what they call that part. They're split. Like I can't remember what part. You get two parts to the loan: one for the tuition, one for I want to say maintenance, but I don't think it is that. Someone could correct me at some point. But yeah, so it's quite a lot each year. And then by the end, it was like, well, do you want to do a master's? And my mum actually pushed me to do that. She was like, you should do it. You should do it. You can do it now. Do it now. And at the time when I wasn't going to do it, I had a rough idea of what I wanted to do. I still wasn't really sold on the idea of coding. Um, I was, I'd probably shown glimpses of being quite all right at it, but it wasn't something that I was strictly like into the idea of doing all the time. I actually really wanted to be like a consultant or something like that, business analyst kind of role, something like Accenture or something. I was really sold on that idea of like, I'm going to be a consultant, I'm going to have a nice car, and I'm just going to like wear a suit, and I'm going to look cool. That was like my drive. I went and did my master's, and I ended up doing more coding and getting more into it. And I actually ended up doing so you had to do a project over the summer with like, so you'd get like either a project or you'd get like a kind of like a technical internship where you work on a project for a big company. And I worked with a group for a huge bank in Canary Wharf, and ended up giving the final presentation. And an actual startup company, well, not startup, they were a company, came in and watched that presentation. And the director of that company, then at the time I didn't realize it, but he got chatting to me and said, hey, do you want to come and come to this festival, and we'll put you up for board and you can see what you think. And then I got a job offer. So
Awesome.
and I ended up working for that company for the first year doing like middleware stuff. So it's kind of interesting how things change. And then I was like, I really like coding. I'm going to do coding. And then before I started, I'd started doing front end, and then I got a call to apply for a job at another big financial firm as a front end developer in a pretty decent role, very good salary. And I thought, I've made it. This is it. I'll be there for 20 years. I'll have everything I want. And I left within 3 months because I
Wow.
hated it that much. And that was when I found out that, like, do you know what? I really don't like corporate kind of settings, and I just want to be me. Like, and like, I want to be my own character. Like, this is what I like doing. I like making stuff, and I like just being me. Like, I'm not a suit and tie person, clearly. Um, and I just want to do my own thing. And when I got to that 3 months, and I was like, forget this, I'm out the door now. I had no plans. I had barely any savings left. I was paying rent. Like, I didn't have my own house or anything like I do now. And I had no plans. And it was, right, I'm going to start my own company, and I'm going to go contracting and freelancing. And it was tight. I mean, it was tight at the start, but I just kept doing what I enjoyed doing, and the contracts started coming in, and it kind of went from there. And then to get my house, I went and joined the company again, and now I'm back to that point where I'm working out where I want to go again, because I'm driven more by the fact of wanting to do what I enjoy, and not just hitting a peak and kind of staying there. I want to keep going. And I think that's kind of important for people to, yes, money's great, don't get me wrong, and it pays the bills and it's fantastic, but it's not everything. It really isn't, and it won't answer all your problems. Like, I've been very, very fortunate that I've ended up in positions or scenarios that, and don't get me wrong, I've grafted very, very hard over the last 10 years or so to do the things I've done and have the opportunities I've had, but money doesn't answer it. And no matter how big a pay raise you negotiate, you can still end up feeling like something's missing. So follow what you enjoy is always what I kind of advocate.
It's interesting that you say that, because my talk with Kevin, he did say, when you are employed by someone, or when you're relying on that paycheck, it's a single point of failure, right? So if something happens, and unfortunately with the virus situation, a lot of people probably felt that the company's closed, they are not working anymore, and they felt that if you rely on someone to pay your bills, that's a bad thing. When you do something that you have fun and something that brings money on the side, it you join the two worlds together and it's amazing. But I couldn't agree more. This was actually one thing that I always said, and I think probably one of the reasons why I didn't want to go back to Portugal is because in UK I don't have to think about money, and it's not like I'm getting an amazing salary or anything like that, but the life that I live is enough for me to save, to do stuff that I want, to go on holidays if I want to. Whilst I know that in Portugal, the salary we pay is the salary that we get is less, and also living expenses are quite similar to UK. Believe it or not, the prices went insane. So yeah, you're always counting your money. You're always working paycheck to paycheck. So as soon as someone is able to see more than that paycheck at the end of the month, it just opens a whole new world. And it seems that you realize that.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of realized that quite early on, especially when I was doing contracting. Clients can pay you a substantial amount of money. That's no secret. Especially if you are relatively good, or especially if you have a niche, you can charge a lot of money a day for things. And I'm not someone that's kind of driven by that. It's more driven by, I want to work on this and I want to do that, and the money's great. I'm not someone that just goes and spends it all. So I'm like, yeah, I never sort of I'm fortunate I'm not sort of living that to each month kind of thing. And that's kind of why I say be driven by something you enjoy. And if you can make the something you enjoy be your primary source of what's coming in, then you've nailed it. And sometimes when you think you've hit that, it might change over time, and then you change it up again and you chase again. But if you can do other things on the side, then that's even better.
Yeah, definitely.
But don't stress over it, and don't make that something you have to do. Like, I see a lot of things where people say things like, oh, like you have to diversify your income stream. Like, yeah, I get that, and it's great, but don't like make it a requirement for people. Like, it doesn't have to be. Like, it's everyone else seems to do all right, so don't worry too much.
Yeah.
Like, if you can find a job in tech, like tech pays pretty well, so don't worry.
I had a question from Oli Pixel.
One of the audience.
Yes,
I recognize that name.
Okay, the question actually has been done a while ago, so I apologize for the delay. So Oli says, when learning something new, I tend to completely forget the things that I've learned just before. Seeing how you easily jump from hardcore React to CSS and SVG and animations, then to Node with Electron, makes me wonder, how do you remember all the nuances of how to use them? Any tips?
This is a hard one. It's a hard one because, and I don't want to sound like I'm just lucky, like I'm just talented at doing it, but I have and I think it must just be practice, because I've been talking about this in this, so I've been having some talks with some people for different opportunities, and one of the strengths, and like the classic, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses thing. And I think one of my strengths is being able to context switch quite easily between things and being able to remember those things. And it must just be a practice thing, and you just remember it and you just keep going, and just remembering those things. And the more you practice, the more comfortable you get and the more second nature it is. I had a weird thing. Yeah, it's really like, I don't know, it's kind of like one of those not myth, I can't think of what it is, how you'd a feeling, I don't know, I can't work it out. So I hit my head pretty bad when I was younger.
Okay.
This is going to be an interesting story.
Yeah.
So I span down some stairs on my bike quite a few years ago now. And what happened was I span, and when I landed, my foot slipped off the back pedal, and I ended up doing a flip. And the bike, I didn't let go of the bike, which was you should eject it. I didn't let go of it, and it swung around, and a peg,
Oof.
stump peg, hit me in the back of the head. I still have like a scar that goes across the back of my head, and I had it all stapled up. And since then, and this is where it sounds stupid, like it's just something, I don't know, I can't think of the word for it, like a suspicion or something. I've always had a really good memory for numbers and things since around that point.
Mhm.
I don't know, maybe something got knocked and something just twigged. I don't know. It's weird, but I have this weird memory for like, I see a number once and I can just remember it. And it's kind of similar, I guess. Maybe that skill is transferable to looking at APIs and stuff. I use it and then I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that. And I just do it off the top of my head. But I think it's like more a practice thing and not finding like ways to answer or explore the solution you need. So that's one thing I think those are the skills that really make like your development stronger. It's being able to find the answers, find the solutions, not so much knowing them off the top of your head. So that first role I had, interestingly enough, they actually wrote an article about me when I joined because of an answer I gave in an interview, which was that I said, when they asked me a particular question about something, I said, do you know what? I don't know, but I just Google this. And they were quite taken aback by it because they expected an actual technical answer of like, oh, you just take this API and I don't know, multiply it by this and plus that. I don't know whether the API would have been. But I said I'd Google these keywords and I'd find the solution and I'd apply it. And they were like, whoa, okay, I guess that's right as well. And they took that and that's kind of always been the way I do. So like I would, if I'm learning a package, I'll be like, right, I'm going to pull the package in and then I'll just jump in the console and I'll see what API methods are available to me, like with the, I don't know what you call that, like the autocomplete when you're in the console, you press dot and
Oh
then it
yeah,
starts options.
yeah, yeah.
I'll do something like that and then I'll explore and I'll be like, does that work? Right. What does that give me? What can I do with this? And then I just sort of go from there. But yeah, practice, practice, practice. And then you just remember stuff. And then, yeah, I don't know. I could just go on and on with it.
I think I think sometimes it's also how you learn, and sometimes we haven't figured out how we learn properly. Because
Mm,
when you go to university, when you go to school, they say, okay, you need to take notes for you to be able to learn. And yeah, sure, notes work, but maybe you can learn different. So it's learning how to learn and learning what works for you that helps you. And then, like you said, it's all the experience of doing React, doing animations, and then you just have that experience because
I
you've
think
learned
as well
something.
with the React side of stuff and things like that, people maybe associate myself with like lots of kind of whimsical kind of CSS or SVG, very visual things. But
Mhm.
my actual like 9 to 5 job would be that I was a senior React engineer. Like I work with like React and I do stuff with Node and stuff, but then I'm able to just flick context to visual stuff because that's the stuff that I love to make. But then something you just said there, which was how do you remember the things, or like how do you make that learning so you remember? I guess if I thought about it, and then just another way of thinking about it was I can associate certain things that I've learned to certain demos I've made, if that makes sense. So if I think of um, GreenSock, for example, something I've learned with GreenSock. So if I think of GreenSock demos, one of my favorite ones is I made one where it's like a DJ deck and you use the scroll wheel to scratch the music that's actually playing. So that was an instance of showing that GreenSock, you can tween an actual value on an object. So in that case, I'm tweening the audio current time to make it
Mhm.
as if you're scratching the actual record, or crossfading audio. So what you do is you tween volume up on one, tween volume down on another, and you learn how to do that. I don't know. That's kind of why the demos kind of drive trying different things, and then you kind of remember those techniques because you've done them. So like, I was messing around earlier with. There was a really neat animation of some cubes that do like, so they're all like staggered. Ryan Mulligan, I can't remember his Twitter handle. I think it's like hexagon circle potentially, but it's like a really fluid, nice animation of these staggered cubes. So I thought I'll have a go at that. I've been doing loads of cubes, so I'll have a go making my own. And then it was like, well, no, now I need to switch the 3D plane around so I can get the rotations how I want. And now I'll remember that, because it's like, oh, if I want to do it that way, I need to flip. And then I need to wrap things so I can do spins. And you just kind of learn things per the demo, and you kind of apply them. So yeah, it's interesting. So like when I wanted to learn React with GreenSock, that was when I made the impossible checkbox where the bear turns it off, because I was like, what can I do to link these two? And that was the thing I used. So I was like, oh, I want to see how to do React with GreenSock with this. But other ones I'll be like, right, I want to do some Vue. So how does Vue handle animation? Right, let's find out. And I'll just dig in and I'll be like, I'm going to make a phone contacts app. That's probably one of my more less interesting guys, but it's pretty cool for the motion design. So it was more driven by, I want to create. So there was quite a few articles going around about motion design where it's like things where the UI kind of is more fluid and changes. So like you'd click a contact and the contact avatar would move up and the contact details would spread out. So I wanted to get better at creating like actual motion design demos. And then I was like, I'll use Vue and GreenSock. Yeah, I don't know. Going off on a tangent again. I'm sorry, I can just talk for hours.
That's all right. Yeah, I'm the same, so it's fine. I think, yeah, in my case, I learn best by practicing as well. So I just, if I want to learn something specific, I just try to create something. And the only thing is, I tend to not finish the thing, if that makes sense. I was like, okay, I'm going to learn something. Yeah.
That happens, and that's fine. Like, unfinished things are fine, but you've still picked stuff up from them, I think.
Yeah.
Right. So, like, what drew you to doing the Opsdroid stuff?
Well,
made you go towards that?
So Opsdroid, I didn't create Opsdroid. This is like bringing me back with development. A friend of mine took a CS degree in university, and she was telling me about the classes and coding and everything. I was like, oh, that seemed really cool. I was on my second year university. I would like to do something like that. So I was, something in my head is like, okay, I'm going to try to find something. And I got a introduction to Java book online, and I'll look at it. I went as far as Hello World and create like something with times. And then I was like, okay, this is really complicated. Jumping a little bit forward, then I tried to do the MIT X course on edX.org. The first time I failed completely. I actually did 3 times, and the first and second time I failed. But that first time, we had a really nice study group, and we were just get together, try to solve a problem set, and try to do the things. And then I got a job as a flight attendant. I traveled, I enjoyed the life and whatever. And then I said, I need to do something with my brain, and I need to do something else other than just flying around. And I went back to coding, and I was like, I think I'm going to try to beat that course, because I was really annoyed that I couldn't finish the course. So I got to the course and I finished the course. And then I fell in love again for coding, and I said, okay, this is the thing I want to do. And I was doing the whole tutorials and learning about stuff. I started with Python because the course was Introduction to CS with Python. And then I started listening to podcasts. And one podcast, Jacob, the creator of Opsdroid, he said, he was talking about the project, and he said, if someone wants to contribute, I'll be more than happy to have your contribution. And I was like, that seems really cool. I need to do that. So I was on holidays at the time. When I came back, I sent him a message, say, hey, I heard your episode and the project is so cool. I would like to contribute. And he's like, yeah, sure. Here's the repository. If you need any help, let me know. And that's how I started. I started by just doing some silly updating a regex rule for the skills. So on Opsdroid skills are just Python functions or Python classes. And that's how I got started. And I fell in love so much by having a chatbot do the thing that I wanted, that I just started contributing more and more and more. And yeah, it's been almost 4 years. And there is so much I want to do with it that I just keep on contributing and adding features. And yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I think Jacob asked me to become a maintainer a year ago or a year and a half ago, and I was like, "Wow, seriously? Okay, well, I would love that."
That's awesome.
So yeah, it's been a cool experience, to be honest.
That's really cool. Yeah, because obviously you're really the only person I see where that's mentioned, because I had no idea about it until I saw you doing it, and from watching your streams, and even your journey in the recent times since you've started doing these streams is incredible. Really, like I'm always I've asked you before, like, how are you doing these things, or how do you do your overlays, or how do you do this, or because it's really interesting to see, because I think you probably started around the lockdown kind of time as well, right? So we kind of started around the same time, but our journeys are quite different. But it's really interesting to see, like, you've done a really fantastic job. So
although saying that, and I appreciate for the compliment, but although saying that, I need to ask you about all your animations, how you made them, because I really want to do the same thing. And I know I've been saying that all the time, that I need to bother you to tell me how to do it. And I haven't sat down and do it.
We need to do another session where we do that. We could just make them online. We could make them on a stream. That'd be really cool, because
that's a good idea.
That's where it's funny, because like your stream looks like fantastic, because you have your overlays and you've got your awesome camera setup. You have like your nice effect with your blur background. All this kind of stuff is like,
thank you.
It's so neat and good looking. And what was I driven by when I did my stream? I want to make corgis in front of the screen. The overlay is terrible, but I just want to have like a shipping container fly across the screen. I want a rocket to.
Your animations are amazing, though.
Completely different. So
your animations are amazing, and you know, sometimes people just keep on going with that command after command because they're just so much fun. So yeah.
Yeah, I have so many more to make. Like, I need to do some more, but we need to do that, because we could do. There's plenty we could do for your streams, because you have the plane, so you have like a theme, which is great. So you can do so many things with it. Like, we could just create some SVGs, and we could put, because you did the corgi in the SVG, which is one, you could easily make one for that. Like, that wouldn't take long at all. Yeah, well, we have loads.
I'm on 3 weeks off now, so I'm sure we can. Yeah, we need to schedule that.
Yeah, we should. That'd be fun. Because I was even going to do a. So I have like a call coming up where I have to show people how to. I have to present something for 10 minutes, just anything. And I was even thinking about doing like, how do you do that? Because it's really interesting to see how people approach the whole overlays and things on Twitch. There's no like real set way. So like I think a good example is so I started off and I just dragged some things around because I had no idea what I was doing. And then I watched Ryan Warner on Learn with Jason and thought, I could just use Figma. So that's what I use to create mine at the moment, but I haven't had time to go back. But then seeing Kurt do all of his with React is really interesting.
I'm actually going to speak with him tomorrow.
Yeah, so like his is really good. Now I'm thinking, do you know what? I'm just going to build mine as an app and drop it in as a browser source. So yeah, it's
a good idea.
It's really interesting to see how people approach it. Like, yeah, it's cool. I think the best way would be being able to have the browser source pull in the title and everything like that. Like, that's what I really want to do for the next one. Like I say, my motivation's getting animations on the overlay, dropping my webcam somewhere, and as long as I hit go and it works, if there are complaints, then I change it. But don't worry, people, the production value will increase in time.
Now that I say that, I've been thinking to do the same thing because I do it manually, and I think I just have to make, especially the podcast one, I just need to automate everything. So I need to work on that. And you did say that you have a call soon. I don't want to take much more of your time.
How long have I got? I've got a little bit of time. It's fine.
Okay. Let me ask you one question. If you were looking at a 16-year-old Jay, what is one piece of advice you would give him?
Oh, that's tough. I'm very like, I don't know. I'm one of those believers in like everything happens because it's meant to. I'm not
Hmm.
one of those like, if I'd go back, I'd change this. So that's a tough one because I wouldn't want to change anything. I'd want it to all work out how it worked out, because I feel like if it all worked out too perfect, then you never really have that space to grow into, because you don't learn from the mistakes, right? But what did
That's
I do
true.
at 16? What was I doing at 16? I mean, probably out the front here. So, like, interesting fact: the house I bought, my parents actually live across the road.
Okay.
I actually, so my family, like, we have people that are able to help renovate. So I bought the house opposite so we can renovate it, and there's no traveling involved, so it's quite good. But I was probably outside there, on the street, spinning around on my bike. That would have been what I was doing around 16. So I don't know. I don't know what I'd say, because at the time, you said you picked up a book and you looked at it and it was complicated. I did the same thing. Around that time, I think, or maybe a couple of years later, at school, you used to get. So over here, I don't know if they had a similar thing in Portugal. You get like the record of achievement, which is something you get at school, and they give it out, and
Yeah.
it has like, you put all your certificates in it, and it has like your attendances and things like that in it. And I think one year, like the end of school awards or something, I probably got some book vouchers. And because I was doing well in IT, and the teacher was like, "Oh, you should get into coding." And there was a guy at school, actually, I remember, he used to do like he used to do loads of like Windows programming stuff, and he would make these cool projects or whatever. And I was like, nah, I'd give it a go, but I wasn't really interested in it still. But I bought a Visual Basic book,
Mhm.
with the book voucher that I got from school. And I think I opened the cover once and never actually read it. So it's probably still in my parents' house somewhere.
Yeah,
So-
fair enough.
but yeah, I don't know. For advice, I don't know. I kind of do believe in it, but then at the same time, I don't, because I think I'm kind of happy with how things turned out. I wouldn't really change it. What about you? How do you answer that one? It's a really
um,
interesting one.
well, about me, I think the one piece of advice that I would give me, or two pieces of advice that I would give me, is maths are not as hard as you think they are. You just had really bad teachers. You just need to find someone to teach you this properly. And the second one would be do this computer thing that you always wanted to do. Even because when I was younger, I wanted to work. I was a massive gamer as well, and I wanted to work in the gaming industry. So I said, I know I need to learn how to code, right?
Yeah.
And I met someone. My dad used to be a photographer for weddings and christenings and all this stuff. And this person said, "Hey, if you want to do this computing thing," he had his own company building computers and yeah, help desk thing. He said, "Here's a CD with a Linux distro, which I think it was Ubuntu, if I'm not mistaken.
Hmm.
Install it, get your head around that because you'll be able to do more things than Windows, and this is a great way for you to start learning how to code." And I tried to install the distro, and I couldn't get the drivers to work because I needed drivers to have the internet working. So I kind of left it off. So I think the thing I would say is just keep on going. It's going to suck not knowing how to do things, but you
Yeah.
will get better.
I think, yeah, like, embrace that part as well. Like, that's the good part. Like, that
Mm.
is, when you hit the eureka moment, like, that is worth the battle that you had before of trying to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I think that's like the trait of developers, though. Like, you really enjoy what you do, and you enjoy the process of learning. So it's like
Yeah.
something problem solving and learning is the thing you like. So you just keep going. Um, yeah, it's interesting. It's really, I'm going to have to think about that question. I think I will be thinking about it. I like these kind of ones because yeah, it's interesting. Very interesting. I just, I try and think like, because I'd be like, oh, don't follow the money, follow what you enjoy. But then if I didn't, I'd never found it out how I did, and it wouldn't have drove me the way I did. So I might have ended up somewhere completely different. So
True, yeah.
it's really, yeah.
Yeah, it makes
very,
sense.
They're good questions.
Thanks. So if folks want to get in contact with you, see the amazing things that you do, what is the best place to do so?
I see you have my Twitter handle there. That's always a good start. I'm kind of pointing to it there. Email's good. I think that's listed. That's on my site at the bottom. I do a newsletter, but I don't know. It's kind of like a ramble, so it's more like I use it more like a diary. It's not a typical newsletter. It's kind of like, here's what I got up to this month, and it's nice to look back and remember. So because I forget half the things. But yeah, Twitter, I don't bite.
Twitter.
I actually like it when people reach out and say hello. So I try and help. Just don't write just hello, because that's a big no-no on Twitter.
I can't really go from there. It's like, hi, I don't know.
I mean, because that's like how we started talking just by, I can't remember how we started talking.
I believe it was on Party Corgi.
Yeah, definitely on Discord. We started talking about capture cards. That's what we started talking about.
That's true. Yeah.
Obviously, we'd spoken before on the Discord, but then the way we actually started having like one-to-ones was about streaming tech, which is like really, it's really cool because now we're on a stream together. So
yeah, exactly. And then this stream, I'll edit the sound and then I'll make it in a episode for posterity, I guess. So yeah, it'll be cool.
Especially like, just Discord's a whole nother conversation. But yeah, it's really it's a cool community. Obviously, like you picked up the capture card that I wrote about in that article. That it's still going strong for me. So
and when I was speaking with Dr. Michaela, she said that she wanted to use her camera, and I said, "Look, Jhey suggested me a capture card, and I tried it, and it's amazing." So this costed like £15. I bought mine on Amazon. But yeah, you bought yours on eBay and it works amazingly well. So yeah,
cheap eBay. There's the there's that one as well, which is the little one. And that's just you just take a HDMI mini to normal from your professional camera. I'm just using a webcam because I've not done that upgrade yet. But yeah, they're really good. Especially the price that everything's been hiked up over this lockdown.
Oh yeah,
it's just
But then comparing to Elgato one, obviously the quality might be a bit better, but it's the price is way high.
Well, especially I think a lot of people so with streaming, I think because I wrote that article about starting streaming, and I started because I was like, people had suggested that they would like to see my process, so I was like, okay, I'll give it a go. And I just jumped in, but I think some people sometimes off-put by the idea of how to set it up and everything. And I think the best advice is just hit the play button and just go for it and see what happens, and then worry about the other part of it afterwards. So like you see a lot of people like they're really worried about their lighting, what camera they have, the sound, like, oh, I need professional. No, you don't. People will come because of the content and because like the people. The other stuff's a bonus. But yeah, like people are more interested in, and that's something I've learned. Like people are interested more in like process and the people that they see, and as long as they can hear you and see what you're up to, that's the main. That's the most important part.
And then if you start becoming successful, just invest on a better microphone, which it should be probably the first step that you do, and then get some lights, get a better camera. But it's a process, like you said. The streamer is probably one of the most important things, and then whatever you're working is the second most important thing.
Because as well, like you have to find what works for you when you stream, like, and I'm still trying to work that out. Like I found that doing the little 2-hour chunks works better for me, whereas previously I was doing like 4 to 6 hours to try and make something and coming away like, I can't do that again for like another week. But now I can do it like every day. So like you might find that you do it, the idea of it sounds great, but when you actually do it, you hate it. And then you've invested in all that equipment.
And then
so it's
if you're not having fun as well, then you won't have a good energy on the stream. So that will, yeah, that will feel weird as well. So yeah,
if you do all the overlay animations though, I heavily recommend a Stream Deck so you can have buttons set up to fire things.
I got the cheaper version using Touch Portal.
Yeah, how does that work? So is it good?
Yeah, that works good. You just have to have your phone or whatever on the same Wi-Fi in same network as your.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, as your OBS. So
yeah,
it works pretty good.
Decent. I didn't know about that, and then I just like happened to see a Stream Deck on sale, so I was like, right, I'm gonna do it.
That's a good idea.
I just picked one up, but it's really handy because I have like, so on my stream I have like you can fire air horn, and it's good to be able to like spam it, so I can just like hit the button.
Yep, and it's quite funny. So yeah. Jay, you have another call coming, so I appreciate the time. I've really enjoyed it, and we have to get together and work on the animations.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's book that in. It's flown by. I say unfortunately I have another call. It's not unfortunate that I have the call. It's unfortunate timing because obviously this is great. I could keep talking, to be honest.
Same. So. it's fine. We will get something later on for another day, and then we do another episode. That'll be good.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yep,
let's definitely do it. It's great. And are you streaming again? When's your next Hacktoberfest stream?
So tomorrow I have a talk with Kurt, which will be a very interesting stream. And then I'm free, so I think Wednesday will be another Hacktoberfest stream.
And Kurt's live tomorrow?
Yeah, it's going to be at 3 p.m. UK time.
Awesome. Well, I'll tune in for that. Definitely.
Thank you. All right. Have a good day. Thank you for talking with me.
Thanks for having me on. See you, Fabio.